guys, this is the Raising Karter podcast. Today, this episode is Your Kid is a Sponge. Funny name, right?
And the Raising Karter podcast is a podcast dedicated to fathers with sons, showing you just how important you are to your sons. So, fathers, I got a question for you. Do you know that your son is a sponge? That all the things he sees, all the things he hears you do or hears about you affects him. He absorbs all that information and all that affects him. So with that, I want to ask you a question, Carter. What are some of the things that you've noticed that I do that have influenced and affected the way you are?
Okay. So, one, he does all these podcasts make merch around 4 and 5. He started making all these cool videos, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. And I started watching YouTube then. And I was like, wow. And then that's when I figured out my dad was doing that. So I was like, you know what? One day I'm going to be like my dad, do something like a podcast with my son.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm going to be on a couple episodes.
That episode will be Joe and my son, his grandpa.
How do you think dad's actions, my actions, shape your values and beliefs? Values, you know what values mean?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so how his values do and how so? I noticed like that he knows a lot about sports and all that stuff. And then he told me that he used to play sports when he was a kid, like a long time ago, like sports like football, soccer, and all these other sports. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So then he signed me up for soccer. And then that's when my love for soccer and sports started to happen, when he started watching all these other sports and how these other athletes got famous, and and to this day they still have they have a podcast, and there it is.
So, what do some of the things that you see me do, how does that show you that when you grow up, what kind of man you should be? As far as the things that you see me do every day, what are some of how does that affect you?
Okay. It doesn't really affect me in a bad way, none of this do, but I realize that not a lot of people like doing work. So, I realized he doesn't like going to work, but he still does some fun stuff, which is making videos. And that's work, and making videos are fun. Trust me, they are. And he did work that was not fun in a fun work. So basically what affects me is how he doesn't care about the bad stuff in life. This cares about the good stuff in life.
Okay. Okay, so you never know how the stuff you do every day and how you carry yourself affects your son. Right there. Have you ever felt pressure to live up to dad's expectations or be like me?
Yes. Like he does podcasts, and when he said this one time, he said, "This be like me." This one time, my first ever video cartoon, he was like, "Okay, this talking to it, say what I say," and then he said, "This be like me, be like me." So at that point, I was like, "Got it, got it." And then when he started to want me to be like him, I was like, "Oh, I'm nervous about this. I'm nervous about this." But then there you go. 2 years, 3 years later, I'm on a mic talking to almost 100 billion people.
But you told me the other day that you just want to be, you don't want to live up to my expectations. You want to be yourself. I thought that was real cool when you said that. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So, kids at home, if your dad ever says, "Be like me" or something, well, you don't have to be like him, because who knows? If you're being like somebody else, who knows? You could have a worldwide talent that nobody else has. And you're missing out on it because you're being like other people. You're trying to impress somebody, but you're doing something that other people do. When who knows? Maybe they don't like that other person. Maybe they dislike you.
Okay, so that's I like that. You could have an awesome talent, but you're not using it because you're trying to be like somebody else. So whether it's your father, your brother, whoever, you want to be yourself. You can take things from them that they do and add it to what you do, but ultimately you want to be yourself. And dads, don't pressure your son into being like you or doing things that you did and you didn't accomplish them to the level you wanted to. So now you're pushing him to do it. Now let him be the man he was meant to be. All right, here's another question. What do you think is the most important lesson you learned from observing, watching me? What's one of the most important lessons you learned from watching me?
The most important thing that I learned from watching my dad is that when you make merch like this hat, you have to know that it's not going to come out perfect. And not everything that you make or everything that you do or everything that you get somebody else to do isn't going to be perfect. So sometimes you just have to this accept that not everything has to be perfect.
Wow, that's awesome. That I didn't expect that answer, but that's awesome because it's true. A lot of people don't do anything because they want everything to be perfect. They never accomplish anything. They never really do anything because they want everything to be perfect. And that's never going to happen. Nothing's going to be perfect. You just got to go for it and believe in yourself and just keep moving forward. So see, there you go, dads. See how the little things that you do affect your sons. If you're somebody who procrastinates and always thinks everything's got to be perfect, if I was that way, that would affect him. So
Yeah, if you're doing something and you're like, "This isn't gonna be perfect," just know that if you mess up, there you are saying, "Dang it, I messed up. I suck at this." Like saying you suck at stuff, but you don't suck. It's just that you expect everything in the world to just come perfect for you. The thing is that you are always expecting stuff to be perfect. Like, once I had, what was it again? Well, I forgot about it, but once I got something, and it looked so cool. Once I got something, it looked so cool on the box, but when it came here, it didn't look perfect. It had dents on it, but I still played with it because it's still a toy that my dad had spent a lot of money on. So even though it wasn't perfect, I still had to play with it because if it's not perfect, then it's no. People put hard work into stuff to be perfect for you.
Okay. Now, here's another question for you. What ways do you think you are different from me, Dad? And how does that influence your own actions and decisions? So what ways are you different than me?
Ways that I'm different than you. I'm different than you because you make all these amazing hats. You design them like this, and you make all these cool hats. But on the meantime, I make creative drawings. I make a lot of books, like a book.
I like to read books.
And I also like to make books. There's a lot of stuff that I do, he doesn't do, but there's stuff I watch him do that I want to do, like driving. I want to do that.
Here we go. Here's the last and final question, the big one. How do you think Dad's actions impacted your relationship with him? How do you think my actions have impacted our relationship? So how do you think the things I do, the things I say, how do you think that's helped or hurt our relationship?
Sometimes when I ask you to go outside sometimes, and you say, yeah, sure, in a minute, so it becomes a minute, but then you come inside and sometimes you just go on your phone straight, and when I ask you something, you still on your phone. So all I'm saying is sometimes dads, sometimes this is why my dad, he's not like that. So Dad, if you are on your phone all the time, when your kid wants you to do something with you, that's a sign that your kid is starting to, you want to play with them before they're off to college. They move to a different state. They're basically a grown man.
That's right. So that's a message to you, dads, and to me, to take every opportunity to spend time with your sons because it means a lot to them. If they ask you to do something, even though you might not feel like it, tired, whatever the case may be, do it anyway because, like you said, one day there'll be a grown man and it'll be all over with. So that's another episode of Raising Karter. Your son is a sponge. Got my superstar co-host Karter with me. We'll be back with another episode. The Raising Karter podcast is a podcast for fathers and sons, just showing you how important you are. So we want you to share this video, share this podcast, tell everybody, tell other people about this podcast because it's a podcast that's well needed. And you got any last words for the people out there?
Yep. Peace.
Peace. Till next time, the Raising Karter podcast. Fathers are important.